Tonight, a new development following a big NBC5 investigation. We revealed how millions of dollars in a state fund to help volunteer fire departments never reaches them.
Yeah, now lawmakers have decided to give the firefighters more, but still millions less than what's sitting in that fund. Investigative reporter Scott Friedman has been digging into this. Scott found.
Meredith and Brian, hundreds of Texas volunteer fire departments are begging the state for more help, but lawmakers have decided again the firefighters cannot have all of the money in a fund that was set up to help them.
How are y'all today? Thank you very much.
This is how most volunteer fire departments pay the bills.
How you doing today, ma'am?
Small town fundraisers.
Thank you very much.
The state has money set aside to help volunteer fire departments.
Every little bit helps.
But as we discovered, some of that money is caught up in the halls of the state legislature. We went to Austin to track down the lawmakers who are keeping the funds from getting to the front lines, and to hear from others frustrated by what's happened since our last report.
The volunteers could really use that equipment and that training right now. It's not helpful after the fire, after the accident.
More than 1,600 fire departments have asked for help from the state's Volunteer Fire Department Assistance Fund, but they've been turned down because the Texas Forest Service that runs the fund cannot tap into all of the money. Among the departments waiting for funding, the West Volunteer Fire Department, that lost 5 firefighters in a giant fertilizer plant explosion. They operate on a budget of not much more than $10,000 a year. In all, there are $86 million in unfunded requests from Texas fire departments, despite the fact that there's plenty of money. $90 million will be in the fund by next year, money collected from a tax on insurance policies.
And the money's there. They have the money.
They do. And that's what they tell us. That's what we see on record, right?
But instead of giving it all to firefighters, the legislature's been diverting much of the money to help balance the state budget. Each year, about $30 million more goes into that fund. But this time, the legislature decided fire departments can only have a little more than half of that money, about $18 million a year.
The money is there, and we're taxing with misrepresentation.
In recent weeks, State Representative David Simpson tried unsuccessfully to pass amendments that would get all of the money to the fire departments. Ultimately, the legislature agreed to raise the amount by about $10 million more than the last 2 years. But that still leaves millions more sitting in the fund. Simpson says his fellow Republicans are to blame.
When the volunteer departments out there ask, who's responsible for the fact that this money did not come to us this time, what would you tell them?
I'd say look at the Appropriations Committee. Look at the leadership of the House and the Senate.
We went to talk with some of the key committee members who made the final decisions. Representative John Otto led the negotiations on the issue. His staff told us he wasn't in. When we asked if Otto could answer our questions in an email, his chief of staff responded, "Not at this time." Representative Myra Crownover's office said she was not available to talk on camera, but she did send a statement saying, "We increased appropriations by $10 million for volunteer firefighters in this budget. I think that is certainly a step in the right direction." We also paid a visit to the Office of Finance Committee Chair, Senator Tommy Williams. In a statement, Williams told us, "Nobody gets everything. Funding volunteer fire departments had to be weighed along with other potentially life and death items like Medicaid funding, nursing home funding. The predicament of volunteer fire departments highlights the difficulty we face in prioritizing limited resources among so many worthy and necessary needs."
This money is earmarked for us. Why is it just sitting there?
But because the money was collected specifically for fire departments, some firefighters and state legislators feel it's dishonest to taxpayers to use it for anything else.
We're lying to them. We're not being people of integrity.
Now, the legislature did take steps to reduce the size of the insurance policy tax in future years, so there won't be $30 million more piling up in the firefighter fund each year down the road. But Brian and Meredith, that still doesn't get the rest of the money in the fund to the fire departments who say they need more help right now.
No kidding. Keeping them honest. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.